All right, beautiful people, let's do this. We are back. So for the next hour, we're gonna look at the Blackjack game I built the other week, and so it has received a lot of improvements since then. Now I even added testing, and I added a few new features, and also as you can see, the layout of the cards changed a bit. I'm just gonna move this. If you see me moving left and right, it's because I have a lot of so I'm working on an ultra wide monitor. It's 49 inch actually, and so because it's ultra wide, it's kind of like you have three screens side by side. And so yeah, this game has developed in a nice way, organic, natural way. And so now even like I've upgraded the visuals a little bit just so it's easier and it makes sense. For example, the cards are now stacked. I didn't make a change to the buttons. I added this nice gambling or cube here just for fun, also to act as a divider between the buttons, so it's you know you're not gonna mistakenly hit one or the other one, so you kind of have to travel a little bit, but that's besides the points. I also added player stats, as you can see here. So you're gonna have wins, total games, and win percentage. In the game, there's more stats being tracked. I'm just not displaying them now, such as what's your current winning streak, and also what's your highest winning streak. So that's cool. And also added a new team. So let's say oftentimes I find myself I wanted to relax tonight or something, whatever, taking a break, and it's darker outside and everything, and I find myself like the default skin is too bright, obviously, and so I came up with this dark mode for when you want to play at night and so on and so forth. Cool. So what's next? Again, this app you see here is powered by React framework or JavaScript library, however you want to call it. I know nowadays everyone chooses React without even thinking for a second. For me, I just wanted to practice more with React. I've used it in many other projects, but just want to practice more. I think my background, I have a strong background in HTML in general, and CSS. I can do CSS, it's just not my preferred thing to do. But JavaScript and HTML in general, I've been developing websites long before React or any other framework came out, right? So I have a lot of experience and understanding, deep knowledge into how you know, HTML is working, and the browsers, you know, all these things you see here. So since this is not a mobile app, a browser would typically get this as we call it a DOM. DOM. So there's a lot of elements behind, like if I do inspect here, and if so everything you see here, this is the DOM, right? In fact, let me show you what I mean. So let's say I do a refresh of the page, and again, I'm assuming that if you're watching this content, you might or might not know how this works. So it's just a technicality in case you wanted to up your skills or elevate your knowledge, for sure. Alright, so if I refresh this, you'll see something happening here. Those are what we call them requests. Usually they're HTTP requests, excuse me, and they have statuses. It's a standard across the web. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that, but what I'm going to say is that if you look at the localhost here, and so this is the main request, and you'll see the response, right? So this is the preview and this is the response, but and so you see that once I hit this URL, okay, you have a bunch of those are called HTTP headers. Okay, so this is from my request headers, and then those are the response headers. Usually connection date, okay, yeah, and usually there's a body in each response, and the body in my case is this, right? So it's a bunch of let's call them tags, etc. And this is what's really building the the HTML. Now with React it's a little bit different because you have this library and this is what's going to build. It's a virtual DOM, so everything's kind of like virtual in JavaScript here, and that's how it's getting rendered eventually. But the end result would be something like this, right? So all these elements here, this is the DOM, right? So it starts with HTML, you have a head section, a body section, and you typically have a footer, which is not here. At least I don't see it. Okay, so yeah, this is it. It's as simple as that. Okay, cool. What are we gonna do today? Today, so I started to refactor the React app a bit, and today I want to continue on that. We'll spend the next 45 minutes on this. And so we're gonna start componentizing more, because what I did here, so if I open my app.js, where is it? In fact, I think we're gonna go the TypeScript route, and as a result, instead of JSX files, you're gonna have TSX. But anyways, so let's close the backend here and open the front end. And go to source. So as you can see, this is my app JSX. So all this stuff, there's a lot of stuff here, right? So slowly but surely, we're gonna move this out we're gonna divide it into components. We're probably gonna go with a modular file structure, modular approach in terms of organizing. So for example, the app will have different elements. Let's add just a simple name here. So the app would have different elements here. It would have card, it would have table, or it would have the game actually, right? So we can kind of like structure it that way, and then in there we're gonna put all, and we're gonna also decide what components are shareable, what are not, or whichever are not. So we're gonna do that. And yeah, it's all gonna be TypeScript actually with React. Okay, and yeah, so I think when you start developing React apps, obviously it can become unmaintainable quickly. And usually, I mean, let's be honest, why are you choosing React anyways? Well, the simple answer to that, in my opinion, is that you're choosing it because you want to build something fast. You know, let's say you're an indie developer, or you know, you're creating your games, whatever, or whatever you want to do. Chances are you want to try your idea fast and you want to have it in production, right? So by doing so, React is encapsulating, or it's doing a lot of the work for you as a developer, and you're just kind of like reusing all that rich functionality that React or any other framework can provide, right? So I think it's a good selling point. But in return, you get with something like this, right? So it's a one page with a lot of stuff going on. In fact, yeah, so this goes against the principles of how it should be built, and what React should be all about, right? It's about componentizing, whereas I have everything here. For example, I have this is my component here, right? The app, and my app has a lot of stuff, right? Now, it could be worse than this. I do have some components or some functionality. Let me see which component I added here. I probably didn't. No, it's the same component from what I'm saying. Okay, there you go. That's one component right here. So, you know, you can this one you can just take it out and you can import it from here. And then something to keep in mind, what's going on with the components. So components, they have parents and they have children. So how the data flows between the components is usually it's with states and props and etc. So that you have to you have to pay attention to that when you design this, because otherwise your app is not going to behave. But you know, different approach to, depending on your scale of the app. If it's a small app, don't need to over engineer, don't need to make it perfect. Just, you know, like, this is the reason why you start like this. You just add here as much as you can, and then you'll take maybe 1 hour on a Friday or something, and you come back and you start peeling away and start refactoring a bit here, you know, and then you're gonna be done by the you'll be done before you know it, right? If you do this, so it's not a deal breaker. Anyways, enough talking. More doing, more work. All right, so let's review how we wanted to structure. So, and you don't see this on the screen there, I think, because it's hidden. Unless I drag this, no, you won't see it. Well, so I think. Let's see, can I take this out? No. Alright, so we're gonna have source where we put all the code, and then inside there we're gonna have app. Can I drag this? No, I can't. Why? It's probably the way I set up my streaming app to capture this window. It's not ideal. But anyway, so let's kind of like visualize this. So we're gonna have, actually, let's do something else, because I think I can display the terminal. Yeah, I can display the terminal, and then you're gonna see there. All right. Okay, so the only problem is we need to bring the terminal to the top. Where's the order? Move up. Okay, there you go. All right, so you see my terminal, which is great. So I can show you the tree, the structure of the files that way. Okay, so if I do tree here. This is the structure I have now. So in the root we have app CSS and app JSX. This is gonna change to app TSX. Inside here, so I'm gonna have an app directory, assets, features. This is the important one. So I'm gonna start moving components based on features. The first one is the the game is a feature. The game would probably be the main app. And then I'm gonna have shared components, something that could be reusable. I have utils, for example, get random dealer name. So every time you load the app, you noticed there's this name here. So this is random. So if I refresh this now, there's a high chance there's gonna be a different dealer name. There you go. So it's Blackjack. It's not. It's just for visuals right now. Not that important. Moving on, we're gonna have a styles directory, a test one. This is gonna be very important. For the tests are structured in components, end-to-end test, integration, and unit tests. As you can see, I already have a test for getting the random dealer name. So the way it works, the way I've set up this is that. Every time I make a change and I push the code, let's say to GitHub, I have hooks, and GitHub itself is gonna run the tests, and it's gonna run all these tests here, and obviously I'm gonna see if it passes or not, and also if I do npm run test here, you'll see the test. You should run the test. Let's see. Depending, it can take a few minutes sometimes if you have a lot of tests to run. I only plan to have unit tests for now. So we are on 20 seconds so far. "30 seconds. Interesting. Takes a little bit longer than I expected. I think it's finished now. Okay. It finished. Yeah, it took a little bit longer, but anyways, it's not a big deal. You'd rather be safe than sorry. And so yeah, you can just add your test there, and as my code grows, I will have the peace of mind that some aspects will you know, the functionality won't break, and that's the most important. And it's done in automatic way, so that every time I push the code, I will get it would automatically run in GitHub, and I would see it there. So, but with TypeScript, the cool thing about TypeScript is that you will see the errors right here on your local machine, because you have the compiler, and every time you make a change, the compiler runs, and it will highlight if you have any errors. So before, like, whatever you see here should be in production. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. All right, so let's see. How do I want to break it? So we can move, let's see the contents. Okay, so the contents of this is a lot here. So eventually everything from here is going to be moved out, and I'm going to have app as kind of like a default, and the app is going to call the components, right? And since I'm using Vite as a web server for the front end, I can have Vite configured. I think it's right here. No, so it has root. Let me double check. Yeah, actually you can tell Vite which index file you want to run. So right now it's running this one, and this one includes the main JSX, and then the main JSX includes the React app, as you can see here. So we can change all that. We can change all that, and then I don't think this has to be TSX, honestly. Let me see, will it break if I do TSX here? Okay, maybe I don't want to do that for now. We'll get back at it. Yeah, so the main JSX, probably I'm gonna keep the main JSX. Maybe I'm gonna keep it in the, yeah, we can move it to the app, and then so index. So if I move it to the app here, yeah, we can do that, and then so let's move everything in the app here, and the styles is gonna be in the styles, the app CSS. Okay, so this is gonna change a bit. Like, my imports will break now just because I changed the path. Share details. That looks good. Okay, so this would be, so one level up, and then you're gonna go in styles, and then you're gonna go app CSS. So, and so yeah, as I'll show you, if I run this now, if I restart the server, it would crash if I restart this. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So you have an error. It says, does the file exist, right? Right, so we need to update. This one is not in source main, it's gonna be in source app. Okay, and then the main JSX here. So here we can double check, they're in the same folder, nothing to change. Okay. Okay, so that should be good now. Do another restart. So we have more errors for sure because the imports are not working now, I think. It's looking at root. Okay. I don't think that will work anymore. This is not in root. It's actually right here. Okay, let's try that. Okay, that worked. Okay, so it's up with lowercase actually. And that can be from root, that's fine. And then abscess, yes. Okay, so this should be good now. LT result import, okay. I can guarantee that main JSX is there. So then, oh, I see. Okay. So the issue is not with the main JSX. The issue is inside here. It says import. It doesn't find this one here. App from. Right. So then let's look inside here, like so. That should work. Okay, app CSS is not there, however. So that one we have to go up one levels and we have to go to styles. And app CSS like so. So this should be okay. Okay. So server restarted, so I think it worked now. So let's open the thing here. Right, so it works now. Everything's beautiful. So the takeaway from that is that when you're trying to do what I'm doing, obviously the first step is to move break files, like, you know, move files where they need to be. And there's a high chance things will break for sure. Alright, so the other thing we said, so we're gonna try to build a TSX one. So yeah, a lot of stuff here. Oh my goodness, how are we gonna do this? I know, it's a lot of stuff. Let me look at the HTML structure first. Styles, okay. So let's review what we have. So we have, excuse me, we have a team selector component. So let's go to the web page here. So if you look at this app here, let me hide the terminal for now. So if you look at the app here, we can componentize everything here, right? So for example, you have, this is the team selector component, this is the card component, controls component, so buttons to hit or stand. This is the stats component. This would be game state component, maybe. Yeah, because it will show you the status of the game, etc. And that's it. And I think that's all we need here. And all those components will be rendered by the main game component, right? I don't think we need a table component really. The table would be really this, but I don't think we need the table here. I think just the game component would be enough. But that means so if we go back to the file structure, and I'm gonna show you the tree in a second. So if you go back to features, so that's what we're gonna try to do now. So we're gonna go to, so we have the game, sure. We're gonna have the so we can have a new one for card. So game, card component. We said stats component, right? Player stats, let's call it player stats. And we're gonna have another component for game state. Okay, so we have card, game state, and we're gonna have the game controls, right? Game controls. Okay, cool. So this is the first step. Let me print the file tree for you. Actually, let's open a new terminal. Okay, so if we go on the front end and we go to we're gonna go to source and app, print here. No, not up, sorry. We're gonna go to features. So this is the file structure I have for the features. So this is where the main components will go. So it's gonna be card, game controls, game state, and player stats. And with this in mind, if any of these components will have anything that's shared between them, that automatically becomes a shared component, right? And that's the goal. And I will adjust the timer. Okay, so let's start with the game, perhaps. So the game is the placeholder that will hold everything else, I guess. And so we're gonna call the file game ts. And then this one is gonna export the component, right? So it's gonna look like the main app. So if we go back here, let's review how the components are built. Something like this, right? And I'm just thinking, will we need the styles for... I think we need the styles wherever we have HTML being printed, right? Yeah. So well, let's start refactoring. So I'm just gonna move some pieces from the main, and in fact I'm gonna split screen for that. You probably won't see it. That's fine. So we're gonna move from there to here. So the main, so this is gonna be export, this is gonna be game. Then right, like so. So this is gonna be like a component, and most likely we're gonna need to import the state. Let's see what else we need. So the state, an effect perhaps, and the ref. Use state, use effect, and from React, and what else do we need? Use ref. And so now this is the time to review this part, why it doesn't work. So all the imports and locations are unused. Okay, that's one. Excuse me. Okay, that's TypeScript just checking if you're using them or not. That's fine. Okay, so what will the default component have? So again, I think the way we can code is, so it's definitely gonna have a return here somewhere, right? Usually components, so they have a return. And we're gonna pass the okay, so we need to import a team selector. Okay, so the team selector might be a shared component, but we will treat it as a feature for now, and it's gonna be a feature. It's gonna be a feature of the game, perhaps. Okay, so let's just do team selector. Yes. Okay, and then team selector. So here export function, default function, export default function team selector, right? And then if we look back into the game where we had a team selector, it's gonna look like so. Something like that. And things are gonna break because they don't exist for sure. Let's see. Something like that there, and then the return is giving me errors because let's see. So is it the effect or what's going on here? Okay, I see why. It's because of that. Return document default. I think I've used a bit too much. Okay, I see why. So that is supposed to be the use state here. So it's the callback for the use state, like so. Okay, like so, and then Then the next one is gonna be use effect. Like so. And then I have the actual return. So let's see. This gives me error. Let's double check. Let's double check this. Okay, so that's good, that's good. This is the problem here. Cannot find name on click. Did you mean on click? Okay. Why can't find a name though? Right, okay, this is the TypeScript thing. Let's make sure we have the types for React before we continue. And we don't have them, and that's the problem. So I'm gonna fix that, or we should be able to fix it. So npm install save dev. So you really only need that for dev. So here we're gonna do types React. There you go. So that should be added right here. There you go. So that's one. It's not enough, I think, because now the compiler needs to run it. So if we go to compiler here, types, I think we need the React types here. Like so, maybe. Let's try it. Like so. Okay. Okay, so that fixed the issue with the React. Now we can comfortably continue development with TypeScript. And so TypeScript would imply that this is going to be something. We're going to come back to this. Expected. Okay. So what's going on with this HTML that's breaking? Let's see. The issue is not the issue is not here. The issue is definitely not here. The issue is not there. Let's define. So constant is dark, set dark, use state false, sure. Use effect, and then I'm gonna have two effects for that. Okay, let's refactor this so that so this is gonna be like that. Use effect, sure. And then here we're gonna do. So we're gonna tell it to use the state, and it's gonna be false initially, like so. And then the same thing for I'm not sure if we need anything else, just that for now. Okay, and here probably don't want to return that. Saved else. Else. So here we're gonna set. So we're gonna set dark, and we're gonna pass the this one here instead. The result of that. We can try to track if it's hydrated, but I don't think it's gonna be important. No. Yeah, and then this one is not good. We're not gonna return here, so we're gonna say set is dark, save dark, like so. Because now it's a state, so you don't have to return, you just have to manipulate the state. Expected, but got two arguments. Ow. How we get 2 arguments? From what? That's a problem. So let's do that. Isn't saved. Okay, so that looks good. Not sure why. Probably it's because we're calling. So it is, okay. Honestly, this is correct here. It says begot to. Hello, how are you? Okay, I'm actually not sure why. Really not sure why. So what are we gonna do here? I think I think I'm gonna come back to this guy here. But it's supposed to be one, only one. Like I'm passing one argument. I don't know why it's passing two here. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Let's see. Oh, it's supposed. Yeah. Use stake, so it's supposed. So this is not use state; it's use effect. Like so, and that fixes the issue. So that's one problem, and then this one, it's gonna be. So is dark. Okay, so we fix this. Okay, and for the dark, okay, so the next step would be to so what we want to do. So again, we want to modify the DOM here again, if it's dark or not, right? So if it's dark, then we want to add the class dark theme. We're gonna set this to the local storage, and because later, see, like later we have this here if it's saved. So this is where the saving happens, and here we're just reading if it's saved, and then if it's saved, we're gonna set whatever status is based on what's saved. Set item theme, perfect, dark light. Okay, cool. So I think this is good. And then the return with HTML, this is really what bugs me. Why it gives me the error still. It's not supposed to give error. Come on. Yeah, the syntax is good. The syntax is good, so this maybe. Could it be that I'm getting no? Like this one doesn't unreachable code. Okay, there's definitely an issue with the syntax here. Export default. Let's review the top section. Export default function game. Sure. Okay. I can't believe this is giving error. Why? Why is it giving error? Giving error again. We're just gonna have to look it up a little bit on the internet and see what others are finding. Oh. Okay, I think I made a mistake here. Apparently this is gonna be TSX. and then JSX module. So React JSX. So the compiler has the right thing. I think it has the right thing. Let's see. Target module. Yes, next. Sure. Target. Head module. Maybe target is going to be S6. Let's see. And then yes, next. Like so. Let's do this. Still doesn't pick it up. So this is good. React JSX, and then hello. Your key's stuck. Okay. It's gonna be hard to code. How am I going to fix this issue? So it's a compiler issue because I went from JSX to TSX, which means go from regular JavaScript to TypeScript, and now the compiler is complaining. The syntax is totally fine, except the compiler does not understand it properly. Okay, so the first thing we did was to... Oh, okay, never mind. Let's rename everything to TSX. So TSX. And boom! Problem solved. Problem solved. However, I am realizing that I moved it into the wrong... this is supposed to be the team selector. And so I moved it in the wrong component, but it's fine. We're just gonna copy this. Like so. I'm gonna copy it here in the team selector. And so this is the old code I had. Now we're gonna replace it with the component code, just like so. And fine, so let's import. Let's import useState, use effect. I'm just curious, do you guys have experience with coding? No, so TSX means it stands for, so React app uses JSX by default as extension for the file names. So it's kind of like JavaScript on steroids if you want, and then TypeScript with React uses TSX. Java, yeah, I know Java. I've done a little bit of C in the past. It's awesome. Kudos for anyone that is doing that for, you know, full-time kind of thing. I think it's quite noble. I think in the future, especially now with the AI train wagon, I think that low-level languages are going to be harder to replace. But eventually, you know, AI nowadays can build you a lot of code. I get it. But I think high-level languages like JavaScript and, you know, all those things like PHP, Python, and so on and so forth, I think those are going to be easier to replace or automate, right? Whereas with the lower level languages, I think, you know, you're going to actually build tools like, for example, TensorFlow. It's built to build AI related stuff, and, you know, I think the whole engine for the AI is built with lower level languages. I think C++ and I think Golang and what's the other one? Rust. I think those three are popular nowadays. make programming language. Nice. So you must understand the compiler quite well then. I mean, how to build compilers and things like that. So this game I'm building here is actually live now. I'm gonna send you the link. It's hosted on a free tier right now, and so it might have a delay. So the game I'm working on now that we're modifying now, it's actually hosted live here, and it's gonna receive more features in the future. For now, I try to build it kind of like realistic. There's an AI component in there in the backend that I've added. That I'm not working on that today, but this AI is, I'll have to admit, either I'm not good at gambling or the AI is really good because my win percentage is under 50% every time I play. And so yeah, so again, just to recap, this game is built with, the backend is built with TypeScript, and it's fully TypeScript. And the front end now, so what you're seeing here, the client is built with React, right? And initially I started with the JavaScript, and now I'm moving it to TypeScript, so React with TypeScript. And so the exercise I'm doing today is to componentize the app, because like for example, I have here, this was my main one. As you can see, it's just a file full of things. And so now my next goal is to componentize so I can encapsulate better, so it's more maintainable. Because I'm gonna add features, I'm gonna scale it a little bit, so I think it's an important next step. Alright, so we come back here. So we have the team selector, that's awesome. And so now, if I come back to my main game app, which is gonna be derivative from the app JSX. Right, I agree with you that it would be good to have the total count. I left that out on purpose actually, and the reasoning behind for me was that I wanted the people to have to think and memorize instead of just having a number, which would be easier to know when to hit or not, right? So you still have to calculate, and so the main thing about it, the main takeaway is that you can make errors, and that's fine. You can make judgment errors sometimes if your calculation is wrong, right? And so it's part of the game to be more realistic, because if you go to a casino, I don't think they're gonna, even the online ones, I don't think they show you the count, and I think that's the reason behind it. But definitely easy to add that for sure. Yes, so exactly. So on the backend, so the backend server, if you have two aces, so let's say you have a 10 and an ace, which is 11, right, by default. If you pull another card and that one is an ace again, or any card actually, if it's an 8 or whatever, the ace becomes a 1. So I'm on the server side, I am definitely taking that into account. If whichever number fits better, like ace adapts based on your hand, and so it's meant to help you, but yeah, it becomes harder if you count that by. So I agree with you. Okay, so let's build a skeleton for the main app. Okay, so the main app, this is the game. Maybe I want to have my utility constants here for now. And okay, so I have that. Okay, actually another component would be get random dealer name. So that could be a shared component actually. I think I have it here. No, I don't. Okay, it's in the utils. I do. Okay, that's it. That's it. Okay, so for the game now, this one is gonna be quite big, and I'm gonna try to break it down. So the chat is showing on like it's on like when I open my streaming app, the chat is there. It's kind of like on another screen type of thing. But no, I haven't configured Twitch to read it, to show it on the screen yet. That'll be a next step. I'm kind of new to Twitch anyway, so. But I know you can add overlays so that you can configure it. So for example, when people follow you, you can pop it on the screen, things like that, right? And the chat would show on the screen. That would be nice to add. Okay, so the game component. What do I want in the game component? So the game component would be a placeholder for all that's happening on the screen. Okay, and so let's see. I'm gonna have the main div there. Let's start with this. Okay, so it's gonna be that. So let's start with that. Okay, so this would return. So this is div. The team selector, perfect. So what we had just built, we can just import it here now. The team selector. Team selector, just like so. From team selector, yes. And then that's it. So now we can just call that component. I'm gonna go over it one more time. So this is the component we built. It's called team selector. And so this is the syntax you export, and then everywhere in the other script where you need that, you're just gonna include it. You're gonna call it like so. First, you have to import it, and so when you use that tag, React will automatically print instantiate that component and would render it. Interesting. I use this. Okay. Oh, nice. So you can only see, oh, nice, yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I use OBS, so I'm getting the feed of the chat in OBS in one of in a separate window, so it's the same idea. All right. Okay, so we got the team selector, and we got the main app. We're gonna have to add a lot more. And so the next thing I think I want to do, so let's create a game and a game ID. We're just gonna move them from the main file, and sure, we can instantiate the player name and dealer name. Okay, what else do we want to keep in the main app? think we can define the API based URL maybe. This can be moved outside later. I think my first pass on this, it's not gonna be encapsulated to, like, I'm not gonna refactor to great extents, but I'm just gonna focus on creating more modular components in the first pass, and then later on I'm gonna decide I'll probably need another refactor in this. But I think it's gonna be enough for me to help me scale, because I'm gonna add more features soon, so. And welcome back, Kofe. And so, like, back to your CPP, so the compiler for C++ and so on and so forth. So you're saying OP. So you're trying to make it run OP async. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's just arrange this like so. What do you prefer to use for code as a code editor and stuff? I heard, like, a friend of mine was suggesting Z. I looked it up. It's quite interesting. No, Vim. Okay. Yeah, Vim. Yeah. So you must be very familiar with the Linux boxes. I'm just running Windows now. I'm running Ubuntu WSL, so it's the built-in integration with Windows. Works well, but whenever I need more stuff, obviously I'm gonna run containers on Docker. Yeah, I'll share my my tag with you in a little bit later for sure. I also have Patreon, so I'm trying to build a crowd, obviously. But anyways, I'm just starting up. I think I'll share my tag. I'll give my tag in a second. Use Arch. Okay, so what else do we want to add in the main? To start game, that would be alright. That would be the function, yes. Right, and then so enter. Okay, so this is the beginning of the game. So it's gonna be something like this. This is gonna break. Why it breaks? Because because it has to be inside. Like so, right here. Like so. And then let's bring this like so, and then there's gonna be a few things I need to set up here. Yeah, I'm just gonna copy all from the previous file. I'm gonna copy all the constants, and then whatever we're not gonna use, we're gonna refactor as we go. Okay, so now, and we'll start game. So this is gonna be a function. I could move that into a component actually. IRC. Is that something internet relay chat or something like that? Okay, if not, internet, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I've used I was part, like I used the client MIRC actually to connect, and then in each channel you had this official thing called X. It's crazy times. I think you could build bots like in Perl or something. You could code bots for the channels. Yeah, I remember those times. Game handle store game here. So this one. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, let's just keep the function here. Set timeout ref. Okay. Timeout. Inner timeout. It's not assignable to null. Okay. String. Need that. So yeah, I think I'm just doing way too much stuff here actually. Of course I don't have start game. Let's copy that one as well. So copy start game here. Here, like so. I am going to remove the mock part and get around. So okay, so this will definitely be a component. Import get random door name from. Okay, I like the fact that it finds it. Cool. Yeah, that's good. Some issue here. Expects argument. Okay. Yeah, I use VS Code. But I'm seriously looking at others like and just from it's because Microsoft is very aggressive with licenses and stuff, and a lot of they're kind of like going closed source, and that's a big driver for me to move out. It's not that I need it yet, but I'm more a fan of open source, and if companies are very greedy, like they usually are, it just pushes me away from using their tools actually, right? And so Z is it's from the creators of if you remember Atom. I'm not sure if they worked on Sublime, but Atom text editor for sure, the ID, and so they built something called Z. So a while back, we're talking about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer. I did use Vim quite a lot, so I'm still kind of familiar. Like if I go in the console here, for example, I can just I think it's installed by default, right? So I can still, like, let's say open which one I am in now. So I go to features. Okay, source, features, and game, and then I'm in the game TSX, right? So I can still kind of navigate and stuff, right? And I know you have to press I for insert, right? So I can, and then you press W for write and quit and whatever. So I still remember those. And U for undoing the change. I think the copy was X or whatever, V. I forgot how to select C. But yeah, good point. Clear loading screen. Okay, so error expects 1, but I gave it 2. Okay, interesting. So in that case, we can maybe concatenate this if it expects only 1. Interesting. So we can maybe concatenate this like so. So is type of unknown. Interesting. I think it's because of that. Okay, I'll have to revisit that part, but new error. Clear loading screen, I don't have that. Like cards is definitely gonna be a component in itself. Let's try to find this function here. And the function would be something like so. Oh man, this code is really all over the place. Even the styling is just off by a few spaces. Let's bring it where it should be with tabs. Okay, perfect. It's looking better. Okay, this one is also off. Okay, good. So I have an error here. Timeout is not assignable to type null. Okay. So that means I'm gonna have to review this error. Okay, making progress slowly but surely. Have to do that. What else? Okay, so let's see in the main return. So I have this. Anything that has to be extracted from here? Probably not. So just an input. Input can be its component, honestly, and you pass values to it, but that could be a shareable component. I'm not gonna go so granular for now. I'm just separating components based on business logic and so on and so forth, rather than HTML elements. Okay, then you have a button, start game, sure. Your name is man, perfect. So, okay, so that looks more or less okay. Let's see what's next. So the next one would be, so I have a, okay, so we can do a component for showing the spinner, the loading spinner, so that could be a shareable component actually. So let's create loading spinner, something like that. So it's gonna be TSX. Export default function loading spinner. I think this, I'm happy with that. And then in the return, we're gonna have this like so. I might have to import the CSS in those, but we'll see. Actually, no, I'm gonna import the CSS in the main component. Okay, so here, the way it's gonna work, so I'm gonna import the component in the main, so you can see how it's gonna function. So right here, so I'm gonna have a condition, and the condition is gonna be, so after the div, I think, yeah. So after that, so right here, I'm gonna have a condition to check for spinner, and if this is true, then inside here, so now we have to import component loading spinner from shared components. Yes. So, and the way we're gonna call this, very simple, just like so. Boom, done. How do you, how familiar are you with web technologies? Okay. Like, do you code stuff for, like, let's say, websites or whatever, APIs? Okay, so you are web. Okay, nice. Okay, sounds good. Next thing for me would be, okay, so the main game. Okay, so we can add another condition after this and say if the game set. There you go. So now this is gonna be the main table. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so we're gonna have a component now for the game stats. Yeah, I spent about 4 hours yesterday to fix a problem that didn't really exist. And so the issue was that the compiler, TypeScript compiler, was kind of like casting the API response to a certain format. So let's say you have in the response from the API you would have status and data, right? And I knew for sure. So on the website, in the JavaScript side, I knew for sure that I must access, the data attribute or property to get to the actual content that I was looking for, but it would say undefined because the format didn't match what the compiler thought it was. And so I spent about 4 to 5 hours until I finally just gave up, and I've kind of like forced to TypeScript to kind of like bypass that error and just let me load. So it was, let's say, object dot data, and then you get access to the data. But like the point was that I had to tell TypeScript to just kind of like force it and let me do it, because the compiler did not see the right format of the response. It's so annoying. Spent about 4 hours on that. Alright, moving on. So what do I do here? I'm at the stage where I'm gonna have to create the stats. So the game stats would be game state. Would be the game state component. TSX. And so now I think I'm gonna reach the point where I need to pass. I'm gonna need to pass in between components. I'm gonna need to pass parameters. So it's gonna be game state, I guess, yeah. And so here, okay, so I'm gonna have that, but this is not gonna work out of the box. I need to do something before. Now I'm gonna have to pass the game. I have to pass the game for that, and the way we're gonna do this. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's some love and hate with different compilers, including like TypeScript. I think for me, Node.js, I was scared of Node.js for a long time because it's so messy. It can get messy really quick, especially you don't have type hinting and all that stuff, right? Nevertheless, I do think that the V8 engine is very powerful, but as far as syntax goes and just the way you develop the application, it can get messy really quickly. Yeah, just is weird, yeah. So here, oh, sorry. So we can have some. Let me see. So how do I want? Okay. So here we're gonna pass the game, right? And we can make it so that it expects certain properties, and for that you can create a type like game state props, for example, and then you define an object here, and I need to go back to what the structure was, but basically essentially it's gonna have games. This is gonna be interesting. I need to revisit what the object is and what the API response is actually. But if we just do this for now, and I think we're gonna cast it as game state props. The problem. I just need to revisit. So let me go to my API page. Just need to revisit what's being returned. Right, I'm gonna have a lot of stuff inside there. So I'm gonna have game ID, I'm gonna have state. Right, and inside the state I'm gonna have a lot of stuff. Yeah, I don't wanna have that. I think I'm gonna... I'm gonna have to expand on that. I don't think I'm gonna... Yeah, I'm not gonna go with that type. I'm just gonna be... It's gonna be an object, right? So... And this is gonna be state here. Right. It's gonna be an object of things. And according to my API documentation, I'm also gonna have a game ID, which is gonna be a string. So game ID, this is gonna be a string. And then the state would have a game ID again. Let me double check actually. When I start a game, let me see what I return, how I save it. Set game. Okay, so I'm already saving the state, which means game ID won't be there. So game ID won't be here. It's just going to be the, whatever's in the state. I take it back. Game ID is in there, but I mean, like, you're not gonna have the state object. Okay, and then we're gonna have players. And see, in TypeScript now, it would be nice. I could define the types. I've already done this in the backend, but I don't feel like I want to go that advanced on this. I could define the types in React as well, so it's going to mimic whatever the server is doing. And I'm just going to kind of like type it to what is expected in the object for now. And so, for example, each player will have a name. They will have a hand. So name, type, hand, and stats. So each element in the object would need to have those. That's the only type we're gonna do here. And then you can say it's a string. Type is a string as well. Hand. Now this one is, you can say it's a. We don't care what's gonna be inside as much actually. But we can elaborate more on this by saying the hand is gonna be, I have suite, which is gonna be a string. I have a rank, which is a string, and then I have a nonce, which could be a number, or it's gonna be null. And that's how you type it out. Type hint, sorry. All right. And then lastly, we're gonna have stats, and the stats would have. So let me see, wins, losses, draws, total games, win percentage. Okay, so would be that, like so. And you can also do export here. Actually, it's a good practice to also export it. Okay, and it's reusable this way. Okay, moving on, we're gonna have deck size. After the players, we're gonna have deck size. And this is gonna be a number. Deck seed is gonna be a string. I have game status, game end status, strings. I have a deck seed, which is a string, like so. Turn, it's gonna be string. And then what else do I have? I have game stats. Oh, a lot of stuff. Game stats, I can have turn players, player, okay. Score, number. Player. And the turn, yeah, this is a boolean. This looks good, honestly. So I just mapped what the game object will have right here, and now because I have this mapping here, I can type in, sorry, the expect object to be of game state props, like so. Property game does not exist. Okay, why? Let's see. It's expecting the game because, okay, so you can do that, but then when I pass the object, I'm gonna have an issue. First I can do that, like so. I'm gonna have to revisit this part. Just like so. There you go. So this would work with this type hinting right here. I'm just concerned that when I'm gonna pass the props to this component, my concern is that game won't exist because it's not gonna be in this format. But let's test it out. Okay. So now that I have the component for the game stats, it's game state, sorry. I could just import here in the game and try to print it. Let's see. So loading spinner has no export default function. Of course it has. What are you talking about? Oh, it's probably looking at the wrong one. Okay, let's see. So I am in. Well, this is supposed to work. So I'm going I'm going one level up again, going to the shared and components. Yeah, this is it. Oh, okay. So another thing that happens with this, okay, I'll show you. So whenever you export default, you don't need curly brackets. Like so. And because you're exporting multiple things here, and also this is, see, it's not a default. If I did this export default, then you don't need the curly brackets basically. All right, so it's good, but then. I think I have an error. Yep. Loading spinner. So, and then it's gonna be used here. Yep. Okay. We're good. Okay, so back to the component of game state. So this would be next. Here I want to have game state. So let's import that first. Game state from game state. Okay, like so. And then in here I'm gonna have game state component, and I'm going to pass the variable game equal game. However, I think when I'm doing this, I'm not sure if it's gonna work. I don't think it will. I'm gonna have to test it out. We'll see. Okay, that's it. So one more component. Let's add some comments. Not like that, like this. Show the loading spinner and show the game state. Just looking at the time as well. WSL, yeah. What's one of the things you hate about it? The abstraction layer, I guess, or just the fact that it's Windows, Microsoft doing Microsoft things. Okay, so here I do have those two errors that I would like to fix before I proceed. Actually, I'll make it the last. Just looking at the time, I'm gonna have to end soon. But for today, I'm gonna keep it this. As you see, we already started to. Let me go back in terminal. So I'm gonna show you the structure I have so far. So in source and features, I'm gonna do tree. So as you can see, hopefully it's streaming. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so as you can see, I have the card, I have the game. So we created a game TSX and a team selector. So those are two components, and then a third component, game state, which we just created. This one here, and this one we're passing the props from the previous component, which is the game, and we're reusing that game right here. Like so. Okay, and then inside the game TSX right here, I do have two errors which I would like to address. One of them is about the error, so it's undefined. Just type unknown, but I'm throwing an error here. This was supposed to be valid right here. Error unknown. Interesting. So let's take this problem. Yeah, you should definitely go live. Should definitely go live. I think it's fun to, you know, it's vibing and stuff. You might have some better ideas or whatever. So let's see, why is error unknown, of type unknown? Sorry, it's supposed to be of type exception or error or something. So what we can do, let's see. Okay. So the way you can handle this is you're gonna check if it's an instance of error. Then okay, I see. So if error instance of error, which should be because I'm doing that, right? Only then we're gonna console log that, perfect, and then so else we're just gonna console the actual error here, like so. I think this, okay, that fixes the issue. Okay, we have one more issue, which is right here. Type timeout is not a timeout of type null. Okay, I see. So this is null. Why? Spinner timeout. I think I've defined it right here. Yes. Oh, I see. So it's null here. I think that's the problem. Okay, so for that, I think we just need to use this in a different way. You know, like this. So yeah, it's definitely because of the TypeScript. So here we're just gonna have to use the right cast, I think. And so here we're gonna tell it it's gonna be a Node.js timeout, or it's gonna be null, right? Because we're passing null here, right? It's gonna be either or, and that should fix the error. There you go. Yep, no more errors. Perfect. I'm happy with this. So let's recap. So here we have the, oops, that's good. So we can have the time selector component, and then here we're gonna print the form for starting the game, and then we're gonna have the other components, loading spinner and game state. And I think this can also be made a component to start a game, really. Honestly, like, I think we can do that. And then handle start game will be outside, but then if I do that, you see handle start game will call the start game, and then it's gonna, yeah, it's, I'll just leave it like that for now, but it's definitely a candidate for refactoring a bit later. So let's see what else is left. I'm looking at the main app JSX. Quite a bit left here. Okay, the next would be the cards. So we need to display the cards. And I think, and then the player stats. Right. And going back at the game state, honestly, we don't even need everything here actually. We just need those. So in the props, maybe I can refactor this to only look for. It's looking for game status. It's looking for winner and end status, and turn. So it needs 4 props really. So I can just pass the 4 props from the game. I don't need the whole game object here, to be honest. And I can call this game state and just pass the object that way. Very easier to do that. For next time. Okay, so the card. I'm gonna have to build a render card 1 component, and then I think I'm gonna build. Okay, so the way I'm gonna build this is gonna be the hand. So I'm gonna have 2 components. One is gonna be hand. TSX, and then it's gonna be card TSX. So I'm gonna have the hand is gonna use the card component, and the hand will be used in the main app to show the hand of cards. Maybe we can rename that like hand of cards. So. And then card is fine. And yeah, that's good. Try to find where I put the stats, the game stats. Starting game. Right here. So it's already in a function. Okay, that's good. And for the player stats, we're just gonna pass the player object. And right now I have it in this. Just gonna be. We have to extract this outside. Game TSX, there's my game TSX, perfect. Okay, so for the player stats, let's create. I think the player stats should be part of the player. Right. So I'm gonna remove that, and as a feature I'm gonna create something called player. Okay. And I think in that case, game state should be part of the game feature, right? Let's move it into game. Okay. So I'm gonna remove game state, and controls the same thing. Right, okay. So I don't need game controls. So I'm gonna have, if I go back to terminal, I'm gonna do tree. So I'm gonna have card, game, and player for now. And in the player, I'm just gonna add the stats right now, like so. 6. Okay. And let's go back here. Export default function player stats, and this one is going to going to have player stats like so. For the props, I'm gonna have to come back at this, but essentially it's going to look something like this. Player stats. Okay, I'm not gonna type hint it for now. So let's just do just player like so. For now, I'm just gonna do any. Okay. Right. Let's componentize this properly. So return. I can't do if. It's gonna be different syntax here. So player. It's peripheral. Okay. So return. So this is gonna be outside. So we can do. So this. Let's take this outside, like so. So if it does not have the stats, we're not going to be able to render anything. That's what we expected. Let's remove the return from inside there. Okay, why I have so many? So then, okay, these two here are not needed. Okay, this looks good. Just like so. So if I go back to my game here, somewhere at the bottom. Okay, so this is gonna be important. It's gonna be an important div to open, and then I have to close it. So I'm gonna have game state. What else do we need? So the game state, and then I'm gonna have the hand. Stats will be in the hand. Interesting. That's good. Okay. So here player. So here is gonna be player hand component. And after I display the player hand, what else is gonna be here? So stats will go inside. I think that's about it. Right. Okay. So this looks good like that. These are the two last components I need. Cool. All right. I'm happy with this for now. Thanks for tuning in. It was nice chatting, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace, have fun, and yeah, peace again. My app here. All right, ciao.